Hi, today I'm gonna talk to you about Windows services. So, first of all, I need to tell you about what resident programs are. Resident programs are processes that start and suddenly end, but they leave resident code installed in memory. This resident code is protected in memory by the memory manager. So, how does these resident programs execute themselves? The resident code is ready to execute a response to a specific event, like interruption, a common trigger. And they also don't use a user interaction or user intervention. It's basically the same. As I said, common triggers are software signals and hardware interrupts. Windows services don't require a user log to execute, but taskbar agents are resident programs too, but they do require login from the user to start. Services. This type of resident programs have no graphic interface and start just after the kernel. Windows services do not require user intervention to execute or to input information. Windows services. Windows system services are applications that start when the computer is booted and run in the background. Here you see a screenshot of the settings from Windows 10. You need to go to the privacy option, then you'll go to background apps option, and you'll see all the background programs or applications that Windows 10 is running for you. But let me tell you, these are applications that are not Windows system services. We'll see how to access these background system services in a few moments. So, what do these programs handle? Windows services handle low-level tasks that require no user interaction. As you may see, one does not simply interact with Windows services. You need to be a good handler of Windows 10. Features. There are over 200 plus operating system features, which implement a system service to support features and functionality such as authentication, certification and encryption services, also networking features such as DNS, DHCP, network location awareness, 802.11 wireless and guard services, hardware related services such as plug and play services, display driver enhancements, audio and effects, print services, and Bluetooth. Also remote access. These remote access are terminal services that allow users to log on a computer from a remote location. Here I have a little joke about the iCloud and their encryption and some other memes. Types. There are two types of Windows services. Here we have Win32 own process. These services are the services that are the only service in a process are assigned the type Win32 own process. It is a Win32 process that can be started by the service controller. This type of Win32 service runs in a process by itself. Now, Win32 share process. The services that share a process with another services are assigned the type Win32 share process. It is a Win32 service that allows sharing of processes with other Win32 services. You can retrieve the service type by querying the service type property. Services architecture. Here we have a service control manager, service control programs, and service application. Mostly this image is to understand how these things are connected. The main components of the core service architecture are the Service Control Manager, the Service Control Programs, and the Service Applications. The Service Control Programs do not communicate with services directly. All communication goes through the Service Control Manager. This architecture is precisely what makes remote administration transparent to the Service Control Program and Service Applications. Service Control Manager. The Service Control Manager is a special system process that runs the image system root system32/services.exe, which is responsible for starting, stopping, and interacting with services. Services and Win32 applications that call special Win32 functions to interact with the Service Control Manager to perform such actions as registering the service successful startup, responding to status requests, and pausing or shutting down the service. Here we have an image where the services are in this Services Control Manager, and you can see the states of each service, and you can access also his properties to modify some things you want. Functions of the Service Control Manager. The Service Control Manager runs within services.exe. 2. The Service Control Manager automatically starts when the operating system is loaded and stops when the operating system is shut down. The Service Control Manager runs with system privileges and provides a unified and secure means of controlling service applications. 4. The Service Control Manager is responsible for communicating with the various services and instructing them to start, stop, pause, or continue. Control Service Programs. Service Control Programs are standard Win32 applications that use Service Control Manager app, create service, open service, start service, control service, query service status, and delete service to communicate with or control services. To use the Service Control Manager functions, a Service Control Program must first open a communication channel to the Service Control Manager. At the time of the open call, the Service Control Program must specify what type of actions it wants to perform. Yeah, I put this because this is a lot of information that we may not understand on the first draw. And this may to represent the communication. Control Service Programs. States. Services have one of three states: start, stop, or pause. Start. Service has successfully started. Stopped. A stop service has been completely shut down and must go through a normal startup procedure to enter the start state again. Paused. A pause service suspends normal processing but remains in memory and continues to respond to control requests. Pause services can therefore return to the start state without going through the startup procedure. So here I have some images to represent each state. You need to start. Also, this one is to represent that the service needs to stop. And this one is to pause, and this one is a little funny. Sorry for that. Control Service Programs. Startup types. A key characteristic of a service is how it is started. The Service Control Manager has a database that includes information on how each service should be started. Automatic. The Service Control Manager automatically starts these services during the system boot process. They are often called auto-start services. Manual. These services must be started manually with the SC exit. command line tool, or programmatically with the start service function. They are often called demand start services. Disabled. These services cannot be started. To start a disabled service, the user must first change the startup type to automatic or manual and click apply. After a service has started, the Service Control Manager uses control requests to manage the service state. However, do not disable or stop the services, because the best recommendation that I can give it to you is that I read is to delete complete application through the programs and features rather than disabling or deleting the service, because it can have dependency and that could crash your computer, as you may see in the next image. So that's a reason for the blue screen of Windows and any version. Oh, do you think I finished? No, not yet. Dependencies. In addition to notifying the Service Control Manager that a service is part of a particular load order group, you can tell the Service Control Manager that this service requires other services to be running before this one can run. Types of dependencies. The current service depends on other services to start. If service X is antecedent to service Y, then service X must be running before you can run service Y. Second one is if other services depend on the current service to start. If service X is dependent on service Y then must be running before you can run service X. So I wouldn't mind if you made that face, because this is a little hard to understand if I can draw it. Starting services. The Service Control Manager maintains a database of installed services and device drivers in the registry. The database is used by the Service Control Manager and programs that add, modify, or configure services. The registry subkey for the database is hklm/system/current-control-set/services. That's the root where you can find and modify these registries. There are 4 values that apply to device drivers. 1. Service kernel driver. 2. Service file system driver. 4. Service adapter. 8. Service recognizer driver. The value of the start entry determines if and when the service or driver is loaded during system startup. Accessing services. There are several ways to access your local services. Here I will show you some of them. So, number 1, it says press Windows button, type services, and click on local services. So here we go. Windows button with right services, and then we will see here I have my computer in Spanish, and there we go. We have the Service Control Manager, and we can see all the services. We can see their description, their state, the type of initiation, and their name, and then we can click on it. If we do a right click, we can see the states. We can see all the tasks that we can do, and they have also their properties, the type of initiation, the description, recuperation, then dependencies, and we should see here if the service has a dependency, like, for example, this one. This one has a dependency with a call from a remote procedure. and they depend on biometrical service of Windows. I don't know what the heck is that. So that's why when you search if someone recommends to shut down or disable that service, they will say that no, they don't do that. Okay, we close this. Also, number 2, press Windows button plus R and type services.msc. Windows button plus R, and there we have, I typed it before, services.msc. We hit enter, and there we go. We have again the Service Control Manager and all the same screen. We close it, and then we try Control Panel, Security, Administrative Tools, and Services. So Control Panel, we go to System and Security, then we search for Administrative Tools. So here it is. We click on it, we search for Services, double click it, and there we are. We have again the Service Control Manager and their services, local services. So we close it, and for the final way that I show you is press Windows button. You can type Administrative Tools. There we go. We hit enter and we search for services. Double click it, and there it is. Service Control Manager for the 4th time. Very funny. So we close it, and then we continue with presentation. So there's a menu. Yeah, you probably like that part because that wouldn't require you see some text and boring stuff. So nope, I am not done yet. Almost. So how do we create and install a service? Steps to create a Windows service. 1. Creating a service. It creates a class for you that inherits from system.serviceprocess.servicebase. It writes much of the basic service code, such as the code to start the service, like default code. 2. Adding features of the service. This step overrides any other methods that you want to redefine, adding features to the service for the onStart and onStop procedures. 3. Setting service status. By default, services created with system.serviceprocess.servicebase. These implement only a subset of the available status flags. If your service takes a long time to start up, pause, or stop, you can implement status values such as start pending or stop pending to indicate that it's working on an operation. 4. Add installers to the service. This step adds installer to the service for your service application. Remember, these are general steps, not defined steps. Set startup parameters. It specifies default startup arguments and enables users to override default settings when they start your service manually. Building the service. This step is to build your service project. Number 7. Installing the service. Then it's when you perform the command prompt and you type the service path to install it on your local machine. Number 8. Starting and running the service. Access the Windows Service Control Manager and start running the service. To install the services, you need to perform the following. Number 1. Start up the command prompt CMD with administrator rights. Then you need to type all that line to install your exe. That it may be your Windows service path to the exe. Then you need to press return and you're done. You installed your service. You need to only start running them in the Service Control Manager. So, as a note, if we analyze Windows and Unix, difference between a service and a daemon. you already know what a service is. But a daemon requires a special protocol to communicate with the kernel and other processes. Interfaces to a daemon include files, pipes, sockets, signals, and daemons execute in a similar way than Windows services but use a different coding. So in summary, they are the same, almost the same. So I'm going to show you how to disable or speed up your computing by disabling unessential Windows services.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's Marty again, and I'm going to show you another cool little trick to speed up your PC. So if you go to Start and type in services.msc, enter. Now what you're seeing here, this is a list of all the Windows services currently running, which are basically exe files that Windows needs for certain processes to work, without going into long detail about it. So instead of just telling you each and every single individual one to uncheck, it really depends a lot of it on what kind of things are installed on your PC. So for example, let's look for one here. Okay, Print Spooler, this is a good example. Currently I don't have a printer. It broke and I don't really have a need for another one right now. So this service is actually started, and it's set to automatic, which means that it starts every time my computer gets restarted. So the first thing I'm going to do, because this actually slows down my computer by running when it doesn't need to, I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to go into Properties here, and you have two choices, manual or disabled. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to manual because I may get a printer in the future, and if it's disabled, my printer is not going to work, and I'm going to get this message that pops up on the screen. It's going to say service can't be started. So I'm going to set to manual, which means when I do need to print something, it'll start. So I'm going to hit apply, go OK, and what I'm going to show you here, if you just do a little Googling, you can usually solve any answer, any question you might have. So, service is safe to disable Windows 7. I hit enter. I looked through a few of them. The fourth one down here, this seems to be the best one. So you click that, and this guy literally walks you through every single service that's safe to disable. So you can go through each one individually. Here's a list of services that can be safely set to manual. So all of those ones, and then basically you can just read through those, put them on manual, and hopefully your computer will speed up at least a lot faster than what's running right now.
So there you go. That's how to disable a service safely. You need to search for them if you really want to do it. Oh, sorry. We close this. Then we get back to the presentation. So, finally, with the information you heard last minute, how many services you think an online game will have? So, check these videos and give it a try.
Hey, want to hear the new dubstep song I wrote? Drop!
Pretty funny claptrap. Still have no idea? Anyone? No? Well then, I'll try another video. This one is in Spanish, sorry. But you try to think how many services will you identify in this. Remember, we want services, no applications. Background applications. So there we go.
El enemigo tiene la bola. Doble muerte. Muerte triple. Exterminio. Queda un minuto. Racha asesina. Muerta clara. El enemigo tiene la bola.
So there we go. How does anyone have an idea of how much services can we identify or count in them? No? Don't worry. I don't even know too. So for more information, be sure to check these sites. For one of them is called 10 forums, another one is 8 forums. So the difference are that one of them covers the services to start, stop, and disable from Windows 10, and the other one covers the Windows 8 services. So that must be pretty interesting if you wanna speed up your computer or to practice a little what we talked today in here. So I think that's the end, and I leave you some memes to relax, sit back, and enjoy. Thanks. Sorry. So I tricked you. Yeah, I'm bad. Just to show you another video of how to improve your system performance by disabling services. So here we are. Give it a try.
Okay, today I'm going to show you how you can disable non-essential services from running on your computer. This can improve system performance by taking away services that are using up processing power and memory by software that you no longer use. So let's go straight into it. There's 2 ways we can access services. So the first way, the easiest way I find, is go to the run menu and type services.msc. That boots that up. The alternative way, if you don't want to do it that way, is control panel, administrative tools, and services. Double click that and it will get you to the same screen where I am now. Let's maximize that. Okay, so here we have all the services that run on your computer. Some are from software that you've installed that enable the software to run on the computer, and most of them are from Microsoft, you know, the standard services that are installed when you install your operating system. You really want to be careful about which services you disable. There are some very important services here which your system needs to run. For example, if we go here to DHCP client, what this does is it automatically obtains an IP address from your router. Your network adapters use it. For people who don't know about networks, if you don't have an IP address, there's no way you can talk on the network, therefore no internet access. So by disabling that, without some networking knowledge of setting a static address, you'll be pretty much useless in terms of accessing the network and the internet. So I'd leave that how it is. An example of one I would change is in a situation, you know, where you no longer have an Apple device, an iPod or an iPhone. You switch to something else. You can turn off the Apple mobile device service. The way you do this, if you right click and go to properties, you can go to startup type and disabled. That will disable the service. Apply that. The service hasn't stopped yet, so if you click stop, that's completely disabled and completely stopped the Apple mobile device service. So what that's done is, it's freed up some a minute amount of system performance and memory, because you no longer have a needless service running in the background. Let's see if we can find another example. The easiest way to do this, if you sort by startup type, which is automatic, you can find all the services. So find HP SI service. See, I no longer have a HP printer anymore. I don't need one. So I can probably disable that. I don't have any other HP devices on my computer, so I would disable that. you might not have exactly the same service, but for example, you may, if you have a HP printer or some HP software running on, you might have the HP update service. If you've uninstalled that software, you can go into services and disable that service because you no longer need it. Okay, I hope you found that informative. If you have any questions, please just leave a comment. Also leave some feedback if I can improve anything. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching.
So there we go. That's that's a way of improving your system performance. So for this time now it is the end, and enjoy the memes again. So I'll see you next time. Thanks.